I would speak to this morning about lasting operation that would, has been held in Madagascar. And before that, I would like to show briefly what is urban energy, who was right, even though Dick last and yesterday did an excellent presentation for your introduction to this, and also some historical issues starting from Reich until the present times by other scientists. So, what is urban energy? Urban energy, these are the phases of existence, the state of existence of urban energy. Urban energy could be found in three different types in nature, at least as far as we know. Freely moving energy in all living beings and in the atmosphere. This is the standard urban energy. Overall, is a reaction to this energy to X-ray, nuclear radiation, electromagnetic fields, and so on. And if this state of excitement, hyper-excitement persists, this energy is transformed into deadly organ energy. So three are the states of existence, depending on which this energy is found, and of course whether a secondary energy are present or not in the area. Urban energy has a very light mass or no mass at all, no weight and age is characterized, can be found everywhere. Matter originates from this energy. So it's a primordial energy from which all matters variable in nature should originate from it. It's possible from air masses movement in the atmosphere. This is a point that is very interesting for cloud lasting. Higher concentration attract lower concentration. This is a law, a very important law that is considered in the cloud lasting operations. These operative rules that can be applied at any time during an intervention. Is absorbed by organic substances and absorbed and soon after reflected by metals. Has an high affinity with water that attracts, absorbs, and holds urban energy. As we have seen, can be excited by radioactivity, X-ray, and electromagnetic field, triggering an Orano reaction that can result with the formation of these conditions. Secondary, the influence of secondary energies continues that can result in the formation of in the presence of deadly organ energy. Can be dangerous both to living organisms and to the environment when misuse is done. This is another important point, suggesting to be very careful, to go ahead very careful with the use and the managing of this energy, because with the devices Rice invented, conceived, we can manage a very huge amount of this energy that many often the organism is not able to withstand. Can be measured, indirectly measured by this methods, by the thermometer, by the static electroscope, by the Geiger-Müller counter, by the hygrometer and gravimeter. In all these cases, we have anomalies. We can find anomalies. For instance, by the thermometer, we can find that an increasing temperature between the concentration of energy in an accumulator and outside the accumulator is found. So there is a delta of temperature, a variation of temperature that can be measured. And this increase of temperature gives indirectly the proof of the existence of this energy, of something inside the bones, of course. Static electroscope. This holds also for static electroscope under the variation of the static electricity, for the Geiger-Müller counter under the variation of radioactivity. Hygrometer, variation of humidity was found inside and outside, anomalies was found inside the accumulator and gravimeter. In that we found and directly found differences in the gravity field inside and outside the accumulator. So, briefly, very briefly, the most important devices Reich invented. Reich concealed the organ accumulator, a very well-known organ accumulator, the doorbuster, the blanket, the cloudbuster, and the organ motor. This is the organ accumulator. Is a picture of a standard organ accumulator for that human beings can sit here in order to be charged with energy. It is used above all for research in the cure of complementary cure of diseases. This is a doorbuster. The doorbuster is made of hollow tubes, metallic hollow tubes. In this way, metallic hollow tubes. We connect it here in a box, empty box, and then connect it to metal hollow flexible hoses, cables that are grounded to water. In some cases, there is a small organ accumulator between the two ends of the device in order to increase the absorption capacity of this instrument. Even though it is a smaller instrument, this one is a very powerful device that moves a large quantity of energies. This is a blanket. A blanket is simply made of alternating layers of organic and inorganic matters. It is used for the complementary cure of diseases, and in many cases can replace the organ accumulator. We have seen that we could have the same biological reactions by using a blanket and by using an organ accumulator. So it's much easier to use and no cost at all to build it, because it's very cheap to buy. It's very cheap to build, to buy all the materials to build it. This is a cloudbuster. Cloudbuster is the apparatus used in cloudbusting, of course. The principle is the same of the doorbuster. Hollow metal tubes connected to flexible hollow cables that permit always the grounding with water, the connection with water. Running water is preferred. It's preferred in order to get the functioning of this device at its best. The principle, what this device is doing. This device is a technique to be used to establish in droughty, arid, desertic conditions the natural functioning of the atmosphere. This is the basic principle of the use of this. It doesn't produce rain, doesn't produce winds, doesn't produce clouds. It is an apparatus to establish the natural functioning of the atmosphere. Rain, winds, clouds are only byproducts, secondary effects of this main primary effect. Indeed, we can see that the primary effect of the cloudbuster is to restore the natural functioning pulsation of the atmosphere when it's blocked, of course. In case it is not blocked, there is no need to make interventions, to make operation to produce something that there is no need at all. So, secondary effects, and then we have winds, rain or no, depending on the temperature. Dissolve clouds. It's possible also to dissolve clouds instead of making clouds by producing rain or snow. Other applications that are secondary effects but can be used practically are we can modulate hurricane path and put out fires. This has nothing to do with the establishing of a natural pulsation, but in can be used in order to improve the conditions and avoid dangers to some areas. This is one of the most important laws to be followed during interventions of combusting. You have two systems. Generally, in doing combusting, you create a potential or energy. The higher potential attracts energy from the lower potential. So there is all the time a flow of energy from the higher potential, from the lower potential to the higher potential. And this rule, this issue can allow us to build a system or to break a static condition in the atmosphere and build a flow of energy, but the flow of energy means that this energy flows from a lower point to a higher point. So, breaking the static condition, breaking the static atmosphere, no flow in the atmosphere of energy, means to build a potential in that part of the atmosphere. And hence, as a consequence, you have flow of energy from one point to another. This is another rule, very important. We have a basic energy level in the atmosphere. That is, when we have blue sky, fair weather, the energy level in the atmosphere is homogeneously distributed. The energy is homogeneously distributed in the atmosphere. At a certain point, when we start the operations here, remember the previous slide, the potentials, we can build a system. A system, we increase the system of the clouds, we increase the potential of the system of the clouds until to a point in which the system reaches its maximum of energy absorbed and then discharge the energy by through lining and rain. And lining is a discharge of energy, and rain is, of course, the secondary effect of the mechanical effect of the system. And then we have the atmosphere is back to original condition of standard condition of homogeneous distribution of the energy until to the next step. This step is the first step when the atmosphere is blocked. In the next days, in the next period, this step should repeat itself naturally. There is no need anymore, no longer need to intervene to make a further operation, because if the operation is good enough, you restore a natural pulsation. This is a pulsation of the atmosphere. You restore. There is no need to make other intervention, unless the conditions of the atmosphere are very drastic. So you need more interventions. This is in many cases what happens. But sometimes when you restore the pulsation, this is the first step to restore the pulsation. Then the atmosphere should follow this let's say, this behavior naturally by itself. So, this is very briefly what we yesterday discussed about making a cloud. You simply point the tubes, this is the cloud buster, at a point not much far from the clouds. In this case, you decrease the potential here of energy, and you create a flow of energy from here to the clouds. In this case, the clouds enlarge, more and more enlarging, and then until reaching its maximum capacity of energy storing, and then possibly create rain, discharge it by creating rain and lightning. This is the opposite by an example, a protocol to dissolve a cloud, simply pointing at the clouds. Pointing directly at the clouds will decrease the existing potential So you break the clouds slowly, and then you have the complete dissolving of these clouds, and if the cloud is small, in some minutes, after 30 minutes, 1 hour at most. Reich did some many interventions applying these procedures, these rules, the technology. From 1952 and 1957, he carried out around 100 interventions, most of them in Maine, others close to New York, Philadelphia, Washington, along the East Coast, and the last one, maybe the most important, is the desert of Arizona, Tucson, in which he was able to produce after some months rain. It's important not to produce rain immediately in these cases, because you need first to increase the humidity, the moisture in the atmosphere. You have to work to go on ahead very slowly. First you have to increase the moisture, and then as a final step you have to point to make interventions aimed to create the system. Right. He was able also to intervene, to deviate the course of Hurricane Edna, was threatening the coast of Maine toward the ocean, Atlantic Ocean. It was in 1954, 1955. In other cases, he was able to produce rain for agricultural purposes, in order to help local farmers to produce rain, to avoid the destruction of the crops due to the shortage, lack of rain. So this is the cloudbuster, a mobile cloudbuster, a mobile device used at the time. Cloudbuster after Reich, there are many scientists that perform experiments, first to validate Reich, what he did, and then to improve the cloud busting, improving safety, and improving safety both for the operator and both in the environment. So we find after Reich, Kelly, Waterhope, and Bruno Bizzi, the Italian Bruno Bizzi. He was a physician that did some intervention, but he didn't leave records, writings and articles on his experience. In the period between 65 to 2000, Richard Blasman, I would say even today, Blasman is doing experimentation on this, but from his articles, the majority of the very huge amount of his experience is focused on this period. Carney Baker, Jeremy Eden, John Schlein, Trevor J. Constable. Today we have a few people, just the Mayo and the Versailles. In parentheses we find the area in which they did perform operations. So at the beginning, Walter Popper was living in Israel, he performed operation in Israel. Keely was an American, so performed operation in America. Going home, the Mayo, for instance, performed operation everywhere. USA, Europe, Israel, Africa, and Versailles also Africa. Just a few words. For instance, this is a few words on the first experiments. This is a very basic experiment. You have the cloudbuster is not seen, but is here, pointed at the cloud, and after some time the cloud disappears. The timing should be 10 minutes, I don't remember, 10 minutes. So control are the other clouds on either side. This is a basic experiment that is doing cloudbuster. This is a cloudbuster used by Jeremy Eden, very big cloudbuster, professional cloudbuster. This is Richard Blasman in the 80s, with his cloudbuster, Silver Horse, in one operation close to Oatsville in Pennsylvania, some years ago. Other operations performed by Blasman were to, for instance, fighting the drought in the New York area, and he did operations first to break the atmosphere to eliminate the door, and then to contract the atmosphere aimed at producing rain, a cloud system and producing rain. So this is a work that started very slowly, and at the end you they had the production of rain as a final consequence of the war intervention. Another intervention by the Blasman is the deviation of the Hurricane Doria was performed in 1965-67, and the hurricane was successfully deviated in the open ocean after 2 days of war, applying different procedures. First, in weakening the hurricane, and then creating winds from the north-west and from the west, pushing the hurricane towards the open sea. Other interventions made by Trevor J. Costable focused mostly on interventions to reduce smokes in the Los Angeles area, California. Then we have James DeMeo, that this is another very interesting basic experiment in which you find this is a picture of the clouds, of the cloud system, done at every minute. And the area of the cloud is calculated. And you see that the cloud is growing up, is developing in size, until to this point in which the cloudbuster was pointed up. And the cloud started to growing up and remained stable. So this is another basic experiment testing that can be done at the first level of cloudbuster. James DeMeo performed operations in Arizona, in Eritrea. These are the cloudbusters he used. He used more than one cloudbuster simultaneously. In some cases, 3 cloudbusters working simultaneously were used in this project, because we can no longer call this an experiment. It's a project funded by the Ministry of Agriculture of Eritrea, lasted for 5 years. Then we had also Operation Bersenf. Operation Bersenf is the last big project, long-term project, that is still ongoing. This is a part of the Algeria desert. This is the picture, this is the condition at the beginning of the operations in 2004. The clouds are systems are the effect of interventions. Before the cloud busting operation, the sky, the atmosphere was blocked, no clouds at all. So after the purpose of this project was to restore, to improve the condition of that land in order to be able to cultivate, to produce crop, to be able to cultivate it. And indeed, we have, after some months, cultivation of potatoes, beetroot. This was in 4 years, 2008. And then in 2010, apple trees. You can see apple trees in that area. Barley, 2011, carrots, and so on. So, This very, very briefly, very condensed way, a summary overview of what was done in the past. Now, cloud busting is, let's say, is done very 10 minutes. Okay. Now I will speak about the experience in Madagascar. That is the purpose of this presentation, so the logic of this presentation. I will skip this first part. What we saw is that the atmosphere, the weather in Madagascar, the climate, is characterized by two main pulsations. A big pulsation, yearly pulsation, wet and dry season. Wet season, then the wet season ends at April, and then starts the dry season. The dry season ends in September, October, and then starts the wet season again, and so on. By the movement of the ITCZ, this is the main system from the Central Africa down to the south, and so on, twice per year. And this is the pulsation, yearly pulsation, October, April. Inside this pulsation, we found out that there are about 12, 13, or maybe 11, 13, 1-3 pulsation inside this main pulsation. That brings rain. In some cases, over the years, these pulsations are reduced or missing. So, no rain is produced on the area. The aim was to increase or to support the missing pulsation, or to increase the amplitude of the pulsation in order to have to give a support to the natural pulsation of the atmosphere, in order to have production of rain that is a secondary target. So we had an approach since the area was unknown to us. We did 4 phases, appraisal phases, in which we studied the direction of the atmosphere by pointing the cloud buster at different parts of the atmosphere in different periods, even though we checked also the direction of the atmosphere in the dry season. Then we start with the goal to restore, to enhance the pulsation at the beginning of the rainy season, of the wet season, in order to give a push to the atmosphere. A push that could last until to the end of the rainy season. This is the location of the devices, and all these circles are the weather station considered to monitor the rainfall. Here we didn't have a possibility to have weather stations. Just very briefly, these were the devices used. The device is working, and they were grounded at the river, close to the city of Maglione. The results at the site of the intervention was a statistically significant increase of rain, in all the period after the intervention, the end of the intervention. This is the average 30-year rain. This is the rain calculated with an average of 30 years, from 1978 to 2008. And this is the rain of the wet season after the interventions. We got a difference, an increase of rain about 40% at the end, but also we got 150% soon after the end of the operations. Similar results were found in a big area, in a large area around the site. So, what we got, finally, is this one. According to the data of the weather stations, we got a statistically significant increase in a large area around the cloudbuster. Consider that this this radius is 500 kilometers. So here along the coast we got a statistically significant increase of rain, and I suppose also in this area, but we didn't have a possibility to check. In this annular part, we got a decrease of rain. It seems that the cloudbuster focused, absorbed the rain around the interventional site at the expenses of the rain produced outside, even at 1,000 kilometers distance. But this data can be joined with the data from satellite by using the VHI index, vegetation health index, and we can see that vegetation health index is a parameter that gives an indication of the moisture in the soil. So here we are at the end of the rainy season in the year of intervention. We had a good situation with a good index around 48-72 that was not found in the previous year. In the previous year we didn't have a moisture like that. And we are supposing that this was the results, the consequence of the intervention. But much more important is this situation. This is the difference between a year and the year before. So, in all the cases, we don't have a much different, a big difference from the year before and the next year. But here, in the 2011-2010, means that this year, I'm sorry, but doesn't work. Means that this year, in 2011,
Roberto?
Okay, thanks. Here we have a big difference in the moisture, in the increase of moisture that was not observed in the previous years. And this was determined at the end of the wet season. But much more important of this is that what happened to the dry season. In general, into the dry season, there is a very poor condition. So the soil loses moisture due to the lack of rain in the dry season, but not for the year of the intervention, because during the dry season we still had a good moisture in the soil, possibly due to the results of the intervention. Last finding we had, we also observed a drastic decrease in the cyclone and hurricanes activity. These data are taken from official website, and we have that hurricane and cyclone activity is very important in the years before the intervention, but was very reduced during the intervention, along all the cyclone season. This table reports the data numerically. We have that the average is around, in this period, 2004-2009, is around 4 cyclones and 4 tropical storms, and just 2 depression disturbances. In the 2010-2011 period, the year of the intervention, we had a drastic reduction of cyclone and tropical storm activity, but an increase in depression disturbance. This means that the cloudbuster could have had an influence on the cyclone activities, reducing the strength of the cyclone and increasing the tropical depression, just storm, normal standard storm. Just the last slide, just the conclusion, just in time. Just one moment. So, this study, this testing performed in northwestern Madagascar fully confirmed the results originally obtained by Weiss and by subsequent scientists. The buster might restore and support the natural procession of the atmosphere and might thus have a direct influence on the local weather, according to the characteristic of the region under intervention. This is valid for Madagascar only. Other part of the world, the situation can change with different characteristics. A statistically significant increase of rainfall was observed in a large area around the operation site for all the wet season. An increase in the vegetation affinity was also observed in an even larger area that persisted also into the dry season. We estimated that the increase influenced an area around 300,000 square kilometers. Substantial reduction of cyclone storm activity was seen in the 2010 year season. Such reduction is a finding that was never previously observed, neither by RICE nor by the surveillance scientists. Okay, thank you.
Questions, maybe?
Okay. Have there been any instances where this experiment has been carried out and brought more rain, humidity and rain in one place, but some distance downwind there has been some depletion, and this leading to the kind of conflict that would happen if a river was captured by one country in its course, and the people being too greedy in their use of the resource? Is there any chance that it will deplete further downwind?
It seems in this case that we got this result. So the production of rain in the area of intervention, very big area,
Microphone.
very big area around the intervention site, possibly, it's not sure, because looking at the data of the previous year, produced a decrease, in some cases statistically significant, in some cases not, in the area around the big area around the sites of the operations. This is a finding, but should be confirmed by other experimentation in the same area and maybe perhaps in other areas of the world. But at the moment, this is what we got, what the results we got. But I cannot say you for sure this is the case. We got these results. Should be, they need a confirmation from others testing and experimentation.
Thank you.
Did you notice when using the cloudbuster and pointing it to a certain point, did you notice that the effect depends on the direction where you are pointing the tubes? I mean, maybe do you, for instance, can notice a stronger effect if the tubes are pointed vertically, or in northern, or according to a meridian, or according to a...
This was a difficult area because we had different flow of winds from the southeast, from the east, and I CTZ from the northwest. So it was very difficult to mediate all of these flows. That's why we spent 1 year to study the atmosphere before to intervene, because it was not so easy. In Europe, it's much more easier because you have the west flow, the flow of organ from the west to the east, so there is one flow, unless locally you have some local flows of wind. But in Europe it's much easier. There was complicated to intervene. So after the appraisal step, we decided to make a combination of intervention, using by sometimes only one cloudbuster, sometimes 2 cloudbusters, and the duration was different according to the timing, was different according to the system development. So there was not a definite plan. The plan of the intervention was built day by day according to the development of the systems. no plan at all at the beginning. We start and we observe. After that, we plan again and we observe and so on. Until to end of the intervention that lasted 15 days, 17 days, 17 days. Okay.